All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to another educational lesson. This is Francisco Perez. Today we'll be going into racism, learned behavior, the effects of racism, the maps, how the maps are incorrect. This is an effect of racism. So we will be going into maybe an hour. So let's get started. Now this is Gail Peters' projection. This is the show West Wing. So with Hollywood, this Chaldean establishment, they like to use magic, and television is a form of magic. And so also, they also like to use television to tell you and inform you, show you the truth. So here's some truth from the show West Wing.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Sorry to be late.
Not a problem.
I'm CJ Craig.
Of course you are. I'm Dr. John Fallow. This is Dr. Cynthia Sales and Professor Donald Huke.
Hugh?
Huke.
Okay, and you are the Organization of Cartographers for Social Equality.
Well, we're from the OCSE. We have many members.
How many?
4,300 dues-paid members.
What are the dues?
$20 a year for the newsletter.
Let's start.
Wait, I want to see this.
This is Josh Lyman.
Indeed you are.
Josh, this is Dr. Fallow and
Hi.
his merry men.
Yes.
Should we begin?
Yes. Plain and simple.
So let me start this off to explain, because a lot of times I give videos to people that I have seen, and I try to show them through the videos because we've been programmed to learn visually, or we already are predisposed to visually understand things. All right, so people don't really understand it, and I don't blame them. Growing up, the things that I was shown, I didn't see these things that I see now, and it made me believe certain things. And I must admit that most of my education, or a lot of what I thought I knew, came from movies and television. And that's what the President Roosevelt said, was that without TV we wouldn't be able to control the people. It's the biggest weapon in the terms of propaganda and manipulation in controlling the population. So here we go. These people are cartographers. Before there were cameras, these people drew maps, and they drew all sorts of things. While they were out on voyages, they would draw the lands, the birds, the animals, the people, and the ways of living of the people. So cartographers have always been around, and they're pretty much map drawers. They draw up maps.
We'd like President Bartlett to aggressively support legislation that would make it mandatory for every public school in America to teach geography using the Peters projection map instead of the traditional Mercator.
Give me $200 and it's done.
Really?
No. Why are we changing maps?
Because, CJ, the Mercator projection has fostered European imperialist attitudes for centuries and created an ethnic bias against the Third World.
Really?
Because, CJ, the Mercator projection has fostered Because, CJ, the Mercator projection has fostered European imperialist attitudes for centuries and created an ethnic bias against the Third World.
Really?
The German cartographer, Mercator, originally designed this map in 1569 as a navigational tool for European sailors.
The map enlarges areas at the poles to create straight lines of constant bearing or geographic direction.
So it makes it easier to cross an ocean.
But
Yes.
it distorts the relative size of nations and continents.
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes. Look at Greenland.
Okay.
Now look at Africa.
Okay.
The two land masses appear to be roughly the same size.
Yes.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that Africa is in reality 14 times larger?
Yes.
Here we have Europe drawn considerably.
Now look, now watch this. Watch the guy.
Larger.
See how he making this gesture? See, what we gotta understand is that we don't think we're being programmed, but there's 1,000 gestures that are happening so fast in the movies, and our subconscious is taking these things in, which and then are manipulating and programming us into the people we are. And then we turn around and believe that we created us, that this person is really who I am, and I'm just being myself. But in actuality, you don't even know who you are, and until you know who you are, you can't be yourself. But he's trying to tell you, oh, it's big, it's bigger than we thought it was. Like, oh, my size of my pecker.
Yes.
Here we have Europe drawn considerably larger than South America. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska?
America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8. When it's 6.9 million square miles, South America is almost double the size of Europe's 3.8 million.
Alaska appears 3 times as large as Mexico, when Mexico is larger by 0.1 million square miles.
Germany appears in the middle of the map when it's in the northernmost quarter of the Earth.
Wait. Relative size is one thing, but you're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked. The Peters projection.
Alright, okay, so now that you gotta listen to what they just said.
I'm glad you asked.
Germany isn't where we think it is?
Germany isn't where we think it is. Nothing is where we think it is. South America is bigger. Africa is bigger. Mexico is bigger than we believe. Greenland is small. Europe is small. Russia is... Oh, what's going on? You know, these things, you would tell somebody and they just look at you like you're crazy. And if you use a video like West Wing to prove your point, then it's going to be invalid because they're going to look at you like a nut. Well, I'm going to do a lot more than use West Wing.
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked. The Peters projection.
Now this is the Peters projection map. I suggest you download it off the internet or you buy it for $10. This is an actual representation of the land masses. It's not the actual locations and site and drawing. So the continents could be shaped different, which I can get to that later. That's another lesson. We understand that's not the actual representation of the plane we live on. But what I'm trying to say is in terms of the volume, landmass, this is an accurate depiction. So to understand what had happened at colonization and why they had done it, you have to get these maps and you have to understand the history behind it. You're gonna understand.
It has fidelity of axis.
Fidelity of position.
East-west lines are parallel and intersect north-south axes at right angles.
What the hell is that?
It's where you've been living this whole time. Should we continue?
Uh-huh.
So, you're probably wondering what all of this has to do with social equality.
No, I'm wondering where France really is.
Guys, we want to thank you very much for coming in.
Hang on, we're gonna finish this.
Okay.
What do maps have to do with social equality, you ask?
She asked.
Salvatore, what do you ask?
She asked. Okay.
What do maps have to do with social equality, you ask?
Okay.
What do maps have to do with social equality, you ask?
She asked.
Salvatore Natoli of the National Council for Social Studies argues, in our society, we unconsciously equate size with importance and even power.
See, you gotta use what I have done is I have watched lectures I have read books and articles. And at first, I just read them and watched them, maybe for entertainment. Not really. I mean, I wanted to learn, but I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand the steps I had to take to learn, to really learn. So what you have to do is you have to get a pen and a paper. A pen and a paper. You have to grab your phone. When you see things like writings, take pictures of it. Alright? When you hear names of these people that they're trying to recite or getting the information from, write the names down so you can look up the names. When they give you books, write the books down so you can buy the book so you have this information. You can't just sit here and think you're gonna learn everything and remember everything. And when you write things down, you can remember it easier.
I'm going to check in on Toby.
Go.
These guys find Brigadoon on that map. You'll call me, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
When third world countries are misrepresented, they're likely to be valued less. When Mercator maps exaggerate the importance of Western civilization, when the top of the map is given to the Northern Hemisphere, and the bottom is given to the Southern.
So you have to understand, he's trying to say that not only is the representation of the volume of the land masses exaggerated or underappreciated, but also they have flipped the continents upside down. They set confusion. They're the authors of confusion. So in actuality, people who are down south, who they think less of, everywhere you go, people in the south are thought less of, even though the people in the south are usually one of the most friendliest people, right? Thought less of, but in actuality, you're in the north. They flipped your maps upside down. Listen, they flipped your maps upside down.
Then people will tend to adopt top and bottom attitudes.
And you got a top and bottom attitude, and you don't even know it.
But wait, where else could you put the Northern Hemisphere but on the top?
On the bottom.
How?
Like this.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Why not?
Because it's freaking me out.
So, when you read old books and manuscripts, Sanskrits, all this stuff, and then when they talk about place locations, and then you read it and it's telling you in the wrong direction, you're going, well, it's telling me it went up to it. It went up to Jerusalem. It went up, and you're like, but Jerusalem is down south. It's because they changed the maps on you, and it's actually up north. So when you're reading these old manuscripts, they're not joking around, they're not lying. You just don't understand the plane you live on. That's why this whole education system is necessary, to dumb you down. This is the education system you need. Your brothers and sisters educating you. Drop Nation, How Art, LexWill, Marcus, and 432 Drop, Education Center, Arthur Scott, Winifred Holcomb, Fire. I mean, there's so many to name. I can't name them all. And they're there, getting to the root of it all. Everybody is here for you. And it's not just to sit back, but you gotta take up a seat too. If you have knowledge, drop it. On to the next one. On to the next. On to the next.
In 1968, I did this exercise in a very informal way with a group of Rotarians in that same town. I was sitting at a card table, and an older man came up to me, and they started to introduce him to me. And I said, I've known him for years. And he said, I remember you. I've never forgotten you, and I've never forgiven you either. I said, what'd I do? He said, I have blue eyes. I said, oh, you're a Rotarian, aren't you? He said, yes, and I've never forgiven you. The man is over 75 years old. He went through that experience for 15 minutes at a Rotary Club luncheon, and he has never forgotten it in 24 years. He is still angry. You tell me about anger. That's 15 minutes and he's still angry.
And what happens in the experiment?
Well, I would you too. That
Yeah.
you have those green eyes. That's the problem you're having, the trouble you're having with your daughter. Because you have those green eyes and you aren't as smart as brown-eyed people.
Now I want you to look at something. Look at all of the Negroes. Look at them. Look at how like shocked they are, like, and happy and like entertained they are. They've never seen this. This is everything that they feel and they talk about amongst themselves. Now, and but the more important thing, watch the Caucasoids. Watch how thrown off and surprised and shocked they are. Some of them want to have a heart attack. Some want to get up in arms. This guy just wants to go up. Look at his cringe in his hand. Look his hand. Look his hand on this side. Look how stiff it is. He's using every ounce of him not to reach across there and slap the out of her.
Now, watch this boy's reaction. He goes,
You see how he ties up his hands? She understands. She's a psychiatrist. She's a psychologist. She understands these telltale signs. So you have base points, base root points, and when you move these root points, you can read the person, and this is what they use at interviews.
excuse me, do you think he's a little angry? That fast. You see, white folks are really super sensitive. You have
What'd you say, Ron? What'd you say?
I said, where's your proof that brown-eyed people are smarter than blue-eyed people?
I tell you, brown-eyed people. You just listen. Now this is going to be an effort for you. This is going to be an effort for you because you aren't accustomed to listening. White males are accustomed to telling things. They aren't accustomed to listening. Now, brown-eyed people are responsible for the fact that you have electricity. Many of the components for generating and transmitting electricity were invented by brown-eyed people. Brown-eyed people gave us our alphabet. Brown-eyed people gave us our numeration system. Brown-eyed people gave us the paper on which we write these anonymous letters to me that tell me that brown-eyed people are inferior. When you go home, you people do not pray for me, particularly you. Don't you pray for me. Because, see, I don't have to worry about that. All of a sudden, you ain't going to pray for me. Now, brown-eyed people are the ones who originated or who founded every major religion on this earth. No white people have ever founded a major religion. Now you need to realize the contributions that have been made to society, to civilization, by brown-eyed people, by people of color. I'm talking about people of color here, folks. And most of us are not aware of those things because we live in a racist society and because we are educated by a racist school system that only teaches us about white contributions. And that's a fact. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. If we would start telling the truth in schools, we would not have racism. We could cure racism in this country. Somebody said, I heard somebody in the green room say that racism is inbred. No, it is not. Racism is not part of the human condition. Racism is a learned response. You have to be taught to be a racist. You are not born racist. You are born into a racist society.
So some of you are asking, why are we watching this? What does this have to do with the map? This has everything to do with the map in your situation. And you will understand by the end of this video. But let me break it down to you like this. The maps was manipulated and distorted to make you seem inferior. They flipped the maps upside down to add to your inferiority. Then they programmed history to promote your inferiority, even though everything about you is superior. So when they do this to the map, this plays to the subconscious of everybody, and just embodies you being inferior and promoting that as truth, which you know it's not. And as long as you believe that, you're gonna keep doing the things you're doing, and you're gonna keep struggling, and you're not gonna unite and become who you're supposed to become. So watch it.
And like anything else, if you can learn it, you can unlearn it. But people like this choose not to unlearn it because they're afraid they will lose power if they share it with other people. We are afraid of sharing power. That's what it's all about. That's the reason men won't share power with women, because they are afraid they will lose power. People, if we would share power, we would empower many people so that we would all be more powerful.
Well, this is a point, Ron. Ron was saying he doesn't know whether that's prejudice or not because he doesn't want to.
Myself, I don't know if it is. I mean, is that prejudice? Is that racism?
Of course it is. Of course it's racism.
In your point of view.
Hey, in the point of view of most people who understand anything about racism, if you were born, raised, and educated in the United States of America, if you weren't a racist, you'd be a miracle. You all look like a miracle to me.
Other countries don't have racism.
Other countries do have racism. Absolutely, other countries have
America
racism.
this, America that. We're born in a racist society. That's fine and dandy, but what I'm getting from you is that we're the only ones that are racist.
Did I say that?
But that's the impression I'm getting from you.
You choose to get that impression from me. Not everyone is getting that impression from me. You do because you want to.
So
that's a choice you're making. You're making an assumption that will defend your position. It's an indefensible position.
You're not the person that says because white people like chocolate and chocolate milk, they want to be black, are you?
I think you said that. You didn't hear that from me. Did you hear me say that?
No, at some other time, at another program.
Do you really think I would say that?
I don't know.
So this is Jane Elliott. I don't know. I never said anything, but I just did a video on her blue-eyed, brown-eyed test, which she got from Hitler, which is how Hitler chose the people that he killed during the Holocaust. And you know that Hitler went to Africa and killed a lot of melanated people.
See, what we're dealing here with is mental illness. Racism is mental illness. Racism was defined by the President's Joint Council on Mental Health in Children in 1959 as being the #1 mental health problem among children in the United States. And they didn't say among black children, they said among children. If you judge other people by the color of their skin, by the amount of a chemical in their skin, you have a mental problem. You are not dealing well with reality.
Now, let me say this. This is what I found every month when we do a show.